everyone, it's Alyce, and I am here to introduce you to the 80 books that we acquired throughout April. So last month I think I ended up hauling 60-ish books, and I was annoyed at myself because it meant that I had to unhaul 60 books before the end of the month. And this month, I managed to exceed that, and I've actually hauled 80 books this month. Which means I've now got to try and unhaul 80 books in a week. In all honesty, it's not my fault. It was my birthday. We did some birthday shopping. All of it secondhand, so that's fine. I've only bought 5 full price books this month, so like 75 either free, gifted, or very cheap books. You can't really be annoyed about that. It means that we've definitely spent like probably less than 50 on books this month, because we managed to get so many of these cheap or free. Probably just over 50. But we will introduce you to all of these. I still haven't checked what I've got on my Kindle either, so there's going to be more than 80 books in this haul, but it's 80 physical books. So without further ado, let us get on with this. What was I thinking? So we'll start off with the books that I was gifted, because I really want to show off this one to you, because Muswell Press sent by Isabel Costello. If you've been on this channel for a while, you will know that I actually read and reviewed Scent last summer. So why did Muswell Press send me a copy of a book that I already reviewed for them? They sent me a copy of Scent because I have been quoted in the press release. And not only that, I've been quoted in the book itself. This was a highly enjoyable novel, The Bumbling Blogger. So, like, this is 100% the best thing that I've hauled this month. I'm so happy with this. This is the second time that I know I've been quoted in a novel. If I've been quoted other times, I've got no idea. But this is the second time that I've been quoted in a novel. I think it's the first time I've ever been quoted on a press release, and I'm just so chuffed. So thank you, Muswell Press, for number 1, picking my quotes, number 2, choosing me to review this title in the first place, and number 3, for sending me a copy as a thank you. And I'm so happy. This is definitely the best thing that I'm going to haul for a very long time, and it makes me want to get back on top of the blogging as well, because I've only been doing BookTube for nearly a year. I haven't posted anything new on the blog since August, I think. Got a bit of writer's block, couldn't get over it, but this is giving me the encouragement and the inspiration that I need. Next up for my gifted books, I got some birthday presents from my friend Gary, and he bought me Broken Throne by Victoria Aveyard, which is a bind-up of the short stories from the Red Queen universe. I've read the first 2 books in the Red Queen series, absolutely loved them, want to read the 4th and final book, which is Warstorm, but I wanted to get this short story collection as well so that I could dive into this afterwards. So I will be reading this. It has these really, really sexy end papers that are like absolutely gorgeous. And it has like purple font and like book excerpts throughout it. So it's very interesting to look at. There's like scripts and interviews and things. So it's a lot more than just a short story collection, which I wasn't expecting. But I am definitely looking forward to finishing off this series and reading these little added extras. So thank you, Gary. And also the entire arc of A Scythe series by Neil Schusterman. If you have seen this channel before, you will know that I love this series. It's amazing. I gave every single book 5 stars, and I've been wanting to reread them, but I didn't own Scythe or Thunderhead. I mentioned this to my friend, and so he got me this box set. I already owned the Toll. So I'm looking forward to rereading these. But the funny thing is, the day that he got these for me, because he told me when he was buying them for me, so I didn't get them myself. The day he got these for me, Fairy the Great announced their special editions. So I have actually got these on pre-order in fancy schmancy hardbacks. But that means I've got paperback copies that I can read and fancy schmancy hardbacks that I do not have to destroy. So I'm happy with that, and thank you again. Now we will move on to all of the books that we got free this month, just because that's always a nice thing to discuss. So hopefully you'll be impressed by some of the things that we picked up. If I can get them, because they're down so low. So I got The Schemer by Kimberly Chambers. I actually hauled this one for my mum, so I will be unhauling this in my unhaul video, so that's fine. That's straight in, straight out. But mum loves Kimberly Chambers' writing. She has them all on her Kindle, but she didn't think that she had this one physically in real life. So when I saw it in the local book swap, I switched in one of the ones that I was unhauling and got this one for her. I have The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I read this last year, loved it, gave it 5 stars, or 4.5 stars, one of the two. Have wanted to read it again, and now I can in a physical edition. This is again from the book swap. I finally picked up The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which I also found in the local book swap, and I'm surprised to have found this in there because it's recently been announced that it is being adapted into either a TV series or a movie, and I wasn't expecting to see it floating around free anywhere. But I'm definitely looking forward to reading this one. I've seen an awful lot of hype about it. People seem to love Taylor Jenkins Reid, so this is a good place to start. I have 2 books by Stephen Baxter, which are Time and Space, and these are the first 2 books in the Manifold series. Haven't heard of it before, but they look like the kind of books that I will enjoy. The End of the World News, the human race extinct in 200 years. So, seems like it's going to be quite dark. And yeah, why not pick them up if they are completely free? I also got Revenger by Alistair Reynolds. Sean is interested in reading Alistair Reynolds' writing. I believe Emily Fox likes Alistair Reynolds. I might be wrong about that one, so I will try to find out for you. But for some reason, I'm remembering her talking about him. Unless she's just said that she wants to read his work. But either way, I'm interested in picking this up. It looks good, it's science fiction, and it was free. I'm okay with that. I have Once Upon a Time in the North by Phillip Pullman. This is a short story from the His That Materials series. It follows Lee Scoresby, who is one of my favourite characters. And it looks like it's got lots of illustrations and things in it as well. So it's even shorter as a short story. So this will be a nice one to read very quickly. And it tides us over while we're waiting for the 3rd book in the Book of Dust series to be announced and released. We also have 3 books by Douglas Adams, who is one of Sean's favourite authors. So I picked him up this fancy hardback copy of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy because he has the Folio Society fancy hardbacks and he's got paperbacks, but he doesn't have like a regular hardback of it. So I thought he would like this one. He picked up The Salmon of Doubt because he doesn't think that he has a copy of this yet. I could have sworn that we already had a copy of this one, so I might end up unhauling this. But as I said, it was free, so I didn't mind him picking it up. And we also got The Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul by Douglas Adams, which is the 2nd book, I think, in the Dirk Gently series. Yeah, and we only had the first one of these, so that was a good find for free. We also picked up Christine by Stephen King. I have a feeling that we have this in a different edition. Sean couldn't remember if we did, so we picked it up because it was free. But as I said, if we already do find that we have a copy of this one, then we can unhaul it. We have Exposed by Lisa Markland, which is about a journalist at a Swedish newspaper who is investigating a crime story, and she starts helping the police by the scene of things. And it definitely sounds like the kind of crime novel that I will love. It's translated, so I'll be interested to see how that goes, because the only translated crime that I've read so far have been very unenjoyable. So I'm hoping that this one won't be the same, but it's in brand new condition, and again, it was free, so why not? We picked up Infernal Devices by Philip Reeve. Sean has the 1st book in the series, which is one that I can't remember what it's called. Mortal Engines? Mortal Engines. And this is the 3rd book, so now we just need to try and get Predator's Gold from somewhere. But this got adapted recently, and Sean's still really interested in reading them, so we thought we'd grab the 3rd one ready for when we find the 2nd. And Sophia picked up 3 little books. I don't normally haul the baby books, but she's starting to get more interested in chapter books, and they feel like proper books to me, so I'm going to haul these ones for you today. And those are The Foxbusters by Dick King-Smith. I loved Dick King-Smith's stories when I was younger, so I'm looking forward to reading this one with her. We have Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, and who can say no to lovely illustrated classics. And we also have The Giant Goldfish Robbery by Richard Kidd, which somebody who collects koi carp. So it sounds like it'll be fun. Sophia got excited by the big fish on the cover, so I think that she will enjoy reading this one with me. Now we'll move on to the stack of books that we got second hand from various places for various prizes. So let's have some fun. Let's start off with 3 books that Sophia chose. We have the Little Tales edition of Puss in Boots, which is very cute because when I was little I actually had 3 of these. I had The Little Mermaid, I had Sleeping Beauty, and I had Beauty and the Beast, I think, that my mum got me for a birthday. And I still have them somewhere, but it matches in the same editions, but it's Puss in Boots. So that was a very cute little find. We have Pooh's Wisdom and Tigger's Bounce, which is Wise Words and Useful Advice by A.A. Milne and E.H. Shepherd. So it's very cute little quotes about being caring and being kind and different wisdom things that are introduced throughout the Winnie the Pooh series. Sophia loves Winnie the Pooh, so these will be good little life lessons to teach her, and they're in a very digestible little format. We also have Rumpelstiltskin, which she picked up. And I don't actually know if we've got a copy of Rumpelstiltskin, so we've probably got it in one of like the classic short story collections for kids that we have somewhere around the house, but we don't have an edition of it by itself, so this will be a good one to teach her too, because it's always good to get kids into like the classic fairy tale stories. I managed to pick up 6 of the Little Penguin classic, Little Black classics, so we've hauled 6 of these. They're only 50p each, so you can't really say no at that price. We have Circles of Hell by Dante, The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, which I've read multiple times. I've never owned a copy of it. I had it on my Kindle. Sean really enjoyed this when we read it together, and I'm always going to be happy to reread this story, so it's cool to have a little edition of it. The Fall of Icarus by Ovid. The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe, which is again one of my favourite stories. I only have it in my big Poe bind-up that's up here. I don't know if you can see that. But this is like a chunky bind-up. So if you want to read just one odd short story, it's quite chunky and weighty. But the Telltale Heart is another one that I would be happy to reread again. We have Apollonius of Rhodes by Jason and Medea. And we also have The Tinderbox by Hans Christian Andersen. Oh, no, that's Jason and Medea by Apollonius of Rhodes. I don't know a lot about classics. I'm trying to learn. That's why I bought these. We then have the Animal Stories short story collection by Nina Blyton. We have Summertime Stories and Winter Stories already. We've only read Winter Stories because every time it gets to the end of summer we realise we've forgotten to read it again. But this is one that we can read all year round. And as I said, Sophia is getting into chapter books at the moment, so these little short stories will be very digestible and easy to read with her. And we might be able to read like one each night before she goes to bed. And 30 stories in there, so it's a very nice little collection. I picked up The Orchid Throne by Jeffy Kennedy. I actually just realised that I did get this one for free, so this one should have been in the pile I did earlier. But this I know nothing about. It just looked really, really interesting. It's a fantasy romance. It's the first in a series. It says, in the Forgotten Empires, magic is forbidden, dreams are destiny, and love is the greatest power of all. So there's a queen who's trying to keep her people free, and there is a prince, a former crown prince, who's built an army to overthrow the empire. So it definitely sounds like it's going to be a good book. It's very short, and it was free. I just forgot to mention that earlier, and I've just thrown it across the living room. Oh no. I then picked up After the Silence by Louise O'Neill. Louise O'Neill is one of my favourite YA authors. She wrote Asking for It, and I loved it, and I've wanted to read some of her adult crime, and this book is in like perfect condition, no creases on the spine at all, and I thought why not grab it, because I'm sure that I'm going to absolutely love it. And I'm excited because her book Idle is being released soon, so I know I'm going to be reading at least one Louise O'Neill book this year, so why not read another? I then have 2 books that I managed to buy on Facebook, and they were like ridiculously cheap. I think it was £5 for both of them, and those are The Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty, which is the second book in the Divabad series, follows the City of Brass, and Fierce Fragile Hearts by Sarah Barnard, which is the second book in the Beautiful Broken Things series, which now has a third book too, so I'm going to need to get that as well, which I'm excited about. But these are in like perfect condition, and they were very cheap on the internet, and I'm excited to read them both, and I know I'm going to love them both, and they're such gorgeous editions, so I'm very happy with these. We then have Johnny Doddles, The Jolly Rogers, and The Ghostly Gallium. We've read a couple of the Jolly Rogers stories with the children, and they really enjoyed them. They're obsessed with pirates. They call them die-dies because they have like the cutlasses and the skulls, which is really cute. And this is very illustrated. Looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. And there was a charity shop near us that was closing down, and they were £3 for £1. So we thought we would grab this while we were there. We also got, which we're hoping to give to Sean's Nana because Sean thinks that she does a lot of knitting. We have Knitted Dinosaurs, 15 prehistoric pals to knit from scratch. So it looks like a very adorable one. And this was also in that 3 for £1. So we thought we would pick it up. If she is interested in it, then hopefully this will bring her some joy. Why is my light gone out? Let's try that again, shall we?
3 hours later.
So okay, we'll carry on hauling in a bit of a gloomier fashion. So let us continue. I managed to pick up the Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas in the Penguin cloth-bound classics editions. I'm slowly but surely collecting all of these. The Count of Monte Cristo is one of the most gorgeous ones. It's covered in these masquerade masks and it's like an all-over print. So of course I was going to pick that one up. I've got another 3 books that I am going to be giving straight to my mum, so I will be unhauling these again. But they are The Killing Habit, Their Little Secret, and Crybaby by Mark Billingham. I have just recently unhauled all of my Mark Billingham books and given them to my mum. So when I spotted these, I grabbed them because obviously it's the 3 most recent ones. We don't have any of them. They're in brand new condition and they were only 49p each. Even the hardback, which has been out for like less than a year. So of course I was going to pick them up. But I thought I would show you them in this video so that you are at least aware that we do have some more Mark Billingham books. And if you are a fan of Mark Billingham and you would recommend us catching up with this series as quickly as possible, then please do let us know. But I will be giving these to my mum because she's going to end up catching up on the series and reading them before I can. But I will be picking them up eventually. Oh, it says it's a prequel. Oh my god, Crybaby's a prequel. This is actually the first Tom Thorne case. Oh, so maybe I could like read this one and then carry on with the rest of them. Oh, that's really cool. I had no idea. It's fine. I'm not going to read any Mark Billingham anytime soon. I don't read that much crime fiction. I also have Two Wrongs by Mel Mcgrath. I picked this one up in a charity shop because I liked the cover and the colour. And then I realised when I opened it up to see how long it had been out, it's actually signed. So that was a nice surprise. I had no idea. It's set in Bristol, which I haven't read many crime novels that are set in Bristol. One girl jumped and then another followed. And it's like the deaths look like suicides, but they might be something more sinister. So it sounds like it's going to be a good crime thriller. Definitely a very appealing design. And it's signed. So that's awesome. We have The Apprentice Witch by James Nichol. I bought this because it's got like a letter on the back that explains like the plot that's going on. So it's like the letters being written to the character. And that is the blurb, which I think is a cool way of selling the story. It's got a very cool cover as well that's like indented. So it's very tactile. I like that. And it's actually an American edition. So to find this very cheaply in a charity shop in the UK was a surprise. I haven't heard anything about it before, but it's definitely an appealing design. We have Half a King by Joe Abercrombie. Sean is very interested in reading Joe Abercrombie's novels. This one was cheap in a charity shop, and it has map on the end papers, which like you can't say no to that. That's too cool. Sean also picked up The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is a bind-up of all 3 books in the Lord of the Rings series, and it's a very gorgeous edition. He wanted it, so he got it. The Lord of the Rings is also on my These Books Will Self-Destruct in 12 Months list. So then if I unhaul my copies, Sean's still got copies. I think he was thinking ahead, because I don't think I'm going to get the 3rd one read this month. But at least he will still have an edition, even if I do end up getting rid of my box set. I also was a sucker, and I hauled another copy of House and Sky of Breath because I found it in a charity shop for £2.50. And yes, I have 5 copies. No, I don't need another copy, but this way I have a copy if I feel like rereading it and annotating it and actually reading it physically, because when I read it in February, March? Must have been February, but I read it on my Kindle. So if I actually want to read a physical copy, I don't have to read either of my signed ones. I don't have to read my Tor edition. I can just read this edition because it was very cheap. And it's still in brand new condition. So I don't know if somebody must have been given it as a gift and decided they didn't want it. But I took advantage of that. I then have 3 Stephen King hardbacks. If you watched any of the hauls before, then you'll probably know that Sean and I are trying to eventually collect every single book that Stephen King has ever published. And these 3 were only 50p because they don't have dust jackets, and we're not really fussed about that. We just want to be able to read them. So we got Full Dark, No Stars. I have a feeling I have an ex-library copy somewhere that's in really, really bad condition. So we picked this one up so that we could unhaul that one. We have Just After Sunset, which I think is a short story collection. Yes, it is, and I hadn't heard of this one before, so we picked this one up. And also, my absolute favourite, On Writing. I read On Writing out of the library when I used to work there, and I absolutely loved it. I think it's one of the best writing guides that I've ever read. It's great to see into his mind and to see how he does his writing process. So getting to read this again is going to be a lot of fun, and also getting to read this with Sean, because I didn't read this with Sean before because it was just after I met him, but before we started reading together. So looking forward to reading this one again. I also picked up Start Now, The Creativity Journal by Kate Neckel. So Sophia is starting school in September and Ezra's going to be starting nursery in January, so we're beginning to look ahead to when we've actually got some spare time and we're able to do more of the things that we would like to be able to do. So I thought grabbing something like this when it's only 50p, it might help with the creativity and just letting my brain chill out a little bit when the kids are at nursery and school respectively. And Sean also picked up a Game of Thrones colouring book. So it's very cool. It has like quotes on one side and then like the colouring on the other side. Lots of different art styles, lots of different scenes from the books. So he's looking forward to either doing this or making me do this, I guess. But that should be a lot of fun, and that was very cheap. I thought it was going to be a lot more expensive than it was when he picked it up and showed me, but that it was really ridiculously cheap for a Game of Thrones thing. The third book that we got in the 3 for £1 at the charity shop that was closing down was Shadow Scent the Darkest Bloom by P.M. Freestone. I've never heard of this one before, but it does sound very interesting. There's like a poor village girl with a talent for fragrances, and the prince's loyal bodyguard have to try and find an antidote when the crown prince gets poisoned. So it sounds like it's going to be very kind of stereotypical YA fantasy, but the cover is very appealing. It's an absolutely gorgeous design, and I can't believe I haven't heard about this, especially because it's a Scholastic release, so it's quite a big publisher. But hopefully this will be as good as I'm expecting it to be. I also picked up The Bone Spindle by Leslie Vedder, which I'd never heard of before, but it came out this year. This is a brand new release. It's a 2022 release. Looks like it's going to be a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, potentially. I'm not sure, because as I said, I haven't heard of it, but it appealed to me. I like the cover. I like the fact that it's brand new and it was very cheap, so hopefully I'll read this one soon. We picked up The Train to Impossible Places by PJ Bell, which is the first book in this series. We like trains. The children like trains. We like reading middle grades, so hopefully this will be a good one for the children before bedtime, and then we'll be able to carry on with the rest of the series as well. I know you're not supposed to, but I did buy a proof because the charity shop had this gorgeous advanced reader's copy of Harrow Lake, which is in a slipcase and is designed to look like a VHS tape. Isn't that freaking sick? But it was only £1.50 and it was a very, very fun proof. So I could not believe when I found this. My jaw literally dropped and I was like, oh my god, I'm grabbing that straight away. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. I read Alyce's... I can't remember what it was called. What the hell was that called? I'll ask Sean to edit the cover in because I cannot remember. But I've read Alyce's second novel and I did really enjoy it. It was like a girl who's, I don't know, like she had to move out of the family home because her parents had died and her brother and his wife had like got them a house nearby, but the people that she hated had moved into the big house. So it was a really interesting story because obviously she was like dealing with like being displaced, and there were more like, there was like a creepy ghost story and murders, and I just can't remember what it was called at all, but it was really enjoyable for a book. Like, I can't remember what it was called, but I'm looking forward to reading more of Alyce's work because especially for YA horror it is actually quite chilling, and I can't get this back in the slipcase now, which just makes me feel sad. I don't want to force it. Please don't force it. Why don't you want to go? Okay, I'll just leave that for later. I also picked up The Dragon's Path by Daniel Abram. I've heard the name before. I think that I've had him recommended to me before, and this was 49p, perfect brand new condition, and only came out quite recently. Oh no. 2011. I thought this had come out recently. I don't know whether one of his other books might have come out recently. But yeah, it's blurred by George R.R. Martin. Sounds very interesting. and was 49p, so you can't really go wrong. I also picked up The Runaway Girls by Jacqueline Wilson for the Chunkies. It's just a little short story, or a sampler maybe, of a Jacqueline Wilson book, so we can see what that's like. Because I don't know whether the kids will like Jacqueline Wilson as much as they think they will, because they like holding the books because they're illustrated. But I think they might like them a bit more when they're a bit older. But we'll start off with a sampler and see how we go. For Sean, I got Brick Flicks by Warren Elsmore. This has like Lego recreations of famous movie scenes, and Sean loves Lego and Sean loves movies, so he's gonna absolutely love every single second of that. And we also got him this edition of 1984 by George Orwell. It's one of his favourite books. He absolutely loves it, and he really likes the edition of this one because it's got like a quote that goes from the front round to the back, and it's got like quotes, and it just looks really cool. So why not? If it's a book that he knows he loves. I picked up Mess by Kerry Smith for basically the same reason that I picked up Start Now. This is very similar to A Reckless Journal. The Manual of Accidents and Mistakes. It says all the different things that you have to do, very similar to A Reckless Journal. Coat this page with paint. Crumple up a piece of ordinary paper. Drag the crumpled paper over the wet surface. Like, just like interesting things to see what you can make. Fill this page with things you can crumble. Do a drawing using only tape. Layer this page with as many different materials as you can. Like, I like that. It's fun. And I want to do it. And it was cheap. Sean picked up The Swiss Family Robinson by Johann R. Weiss, not knowing that I had a copy. So, he likes it though. It's like a cool classic edition. And it's in pretty good condition for a classic. Like, it's quite old. Like, it doesn't even say when it was published. It's that old. Yeah, who knows when this came out. But it's a lovely edition of it. So I was fine with them getting it. He also picked up Best Sci-Fi Stories from New Worlds 8, edited by Michael Moorcock, and The Warlord of the Air by Michael Moorcock. Sean's slowly but surely collecting all of the Michael Moorcock books as well, so you'll probably see a lot more of these popping up on the channel recently. In the near future, soon. My brain is just dying. Too many books. I picked up 5 books in the Bloodlines series by Rochelle Mead, because I own Bloodlines, but I didn't own the rest of the series, so now I own The Ruby Circle, The Golden Lily, Silver Shadows, The Fiery Heart, and The Indigo Spell. And I have no idea if I read those out in the right order, because I just bought them all because I've heard really great things about them. And apparently Bloodlines is a better series than Vampire Academy, so I'm looking forward to seeing if that is true. I bought The Redemption of Alathus by David and Leigh Eddings. David and Leigh Eddings? Probably. But this is like a very, very chunky standalone, and it sounds very interesting. There's a talking cat, there's a person who has read like a book that he shouldn't have read, and there's an evil god trying to unmake the world. Like, drama central in this book, and very cheap, only 49p. So 49p for this many days of enjoyment is something that I can justify. I also picked up The Dead Fathers Club by Matt Haig. Love Matt Haig's writing, loved The Midnight Library, loved How to Stop Time. Looking forward to reading more of his work, and this is his second novel, so it's a lot older than his more recent releases, and it'll be interesting to see how his writing style has changed over time. Yes, I picked up A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I only just bought an edition of the new cover, and I have a signed copy of the original covers, but I know a lot of people are looking for these, so I was thinking I might be able to trade it for something on Facebook, so I kind of bought this with trading or selling in mind. It was only £1, so I didn't really feel too bad about that, but I'll see whether there's any interest in it, and if not, then I'll probably just switch it in one of the local book boxes. But that seemed like a potentially good investment for the future. Picked up Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Rees-Brennans, Maureen Johnson, and Robin Vasserman. This is one of the only Shadowhunters books that I didn't own. I don't own Ghosts of the Shadow Market, and I didn't own this one, but they're both short story collections, so I've been keeping an eye out for them. Managed to pick this one up today. Hopefully Ghosts of the Shadow Market will follow soon. And I also managed to pick up the Shadowhunters Codex this month, which is meant to be like a non-fiction book, like the kind of training guide that all the Shadowhunters have to read. So this will be a lot of fun to read because it will give me more information about some of the things in the series that don't get explored that deeply in the Shadowhunters novels themselves. And last but not least, for charity shop books, I got The Wrath and the Dawn duology by Renee Adier, which are The Wrath and the Dawn and The Rose and the Dagger. I have these on my Kindle, but I thought because they were very cheap and they're gorgeous editions, I would get them in the charity shop, and then when I eventually read them, if I don't like them, then I can unhaul them, but then I've got them if I do really love them and I'd like to have them physically. So last but not least, finally, we have the books that I bought brand new and full price this month, which are Dragon Rising by Katie and Kevin Sang. This is the 4th book in the Dragon Realm series. Has the gorgeous yellow dragon scale sprayed pages to match the first 3 in the series, and I know we're going to love these, so I'm happy to continue buying these until we catch up. I have the Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake, which I unhauled, which I unboxed as part of our first Fairy Loot Adult unboxing video. So I've actually already read this one, done a full reading vlog on it, so you can check that out as well. Wasn't like the biggest fan, but I'm still interested in carrying on the rest of the series, so this was a successful first pick for the Fairy Loot Adult book block. I picked up Scythe by Neil Schusterman. This is the red sprayed Fane exclusive edition with the signed book plate. For some reason it was only £8. They had it on a sale and I was like, well, why the hell not if it's a Scythe hardback? So that does mean I've gone from having no copies of Scythe to having 2 copies with me and 1 copy on its way to me in a month. But I love this series, so I'm happy having a few editions of it. I have the Owlcrate edition of Gallant by Victoria Schwab, which I've also read this month. I'll be giving you my thoughts on this one in my wrap-up, which should be coming within the next few days, possibly 2 videos away. But this came with a very cool wooden bookmark, some art cards because they were meant to be the end papers, but the publisher made a mistake. It has extremely beautiful foiling on the front cover. And it's just a very gorgeous edition. It has a book plate as well, which is here. I haven't attached it just yet, but I will soon. And it's definitely the best edition of Gallant that I own, so I'm happy that I got that one. And this one was for Sean, and he's very, very happy with it. It's the signed edition of Until the End by Derek Landy, which is the final book in the 2nd cycle of the Skullduggery Present series, which makes it sound like there might be more in the future, which is cool. But this is signed on the end papers. It's very, very beautiful, and I'm looking forward to catching up with this series because we're actually starting it in May. So we've got a lot to catch up on, but we're going to have a very fun time doing it. And now it's time for me to tell you, I hauled 11 Kindle books in April, which means this becomes a 91 book haul. And then you think about the fact that I have no self-control, and just while I was checking how many Kindle books I bought this month, I bought another 2 because they are all very good deals. So I hate myself because this is a 93 book haul. How the hell am I supposed to unhaul 93 books in 1 month when I struggled to unhaul 60 last month and was like, yeah, I think I'm pretty much there. I think I've pretty much got all of the books that I want to have. This is not going to end well. I am gonna have a panic and see what the hell happens. But you'll have to come back in a couple of days to see the unhaul to see what actually ends up happening with this, because God frickin' knows. But let me just tell you about my Kindle books before I leave you alone. Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. As I said, interested in reading Taylor Jenkins Reid writing. Malibu Rising is her newest novel and it was only 99p. So, haven't gone wrong there. I then hauled 10 books completely free as part of Amazon's World Book Day celebrations. So it's a case that, like, it was to celebrate reading across the world. Every single Amazon all across the territories had 10 books that you could download for free. So I downloaded all of them. I'll see how I feel about them and then hopefully know whether I can trust Amazon's recommendations or not. So those 10 were An Eye for an Eye by Carol Wyatt, which is the first book in the Detective Kate series. North to Paradise by Usman Umar and Kevin Jerry Dunn. The Puma Years by Laura Coleman, which is also a memoir. Mother Dear by Nova Lee Mayer and Joseph Vandervoort. The Easy Life in Kamusari by Shion Miura and Juliet Winters Carpenter, which is the first book in the Forest series. The Ardent Swarm by Yarman Manai and Lara Vergnord. The Other Man by Farhad J. Daddy Burjo. Where the Desert Meets the Sea by Werner Son and Steve Anderson. To the Sky Kingdom by Tang Ki and Poppy Toland. and The Cayman, which is a picture book by Maria Eugenia Manrique. And then the two books I literally just bought were Gods and Monsters by Shelby Muhurin, which is the third book in the Serpent and Dove series. I already have Serpent and Dove and Blood and Honey on my Kindle, so the fact this was 99p and it's the third book and final book in the trilogy, no brainer. And I also got You Love Me by Caroline Kepnes, which is the third book in the You series, and I have You and Hidden Bodies sat on my shelf just over there. So again, an absolute no-brainer for 99p, especially because I do currently have Amazon gift vouchers on my account, so those didn't cost me anything. No Kindle books have cost me anything since like Christmas. It's been amazing. But that does mean I have hauled 93 books this month, and that is too many. Too many. And I wish Sean could teach me some self-control. I wish I could teach myself some self-control, but because they're so cheap, I don't realise how many I'm getting. Because it doesn't make an impact on our bank account whatsoever. It's so cheap, or they're free. And so we just keep acquiring, and then it comes to haul time, and I panic, and I cry, and I panic a bit more, and then I cry a bit more, and then I haul a lot of books. And you guys love it, because it means you get to see me have a meltdown about how many amazing books I found once a month. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any ideas for what the hell I need to unhaul, then please just let me know. Like, if there's a series that you can remember seeing on my shelves that you don't particularly enjoy, or if there's anything that I've been umming and ahhing on that you think I should just get rid of, just let me know, because I'll probably listen to you and just throw them straight out of the window just to make my life easier. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, give it a like, and if you'd like to subscribe, we'd be super duper grateful. We post new videos every Tuesday, every Thursday, and every Saturday. So we'll see you again in a couple of days with another video. And remember, you still have a day left to vote for what book we're going to be reading first in the Bad Bookworm Book Club. So make sure you vote for that as well, because we've got to choose a book that we're all reading together. So remember to let me know what you vote for, and I'll see you in a couple of days with another video. Probably the unhaul, but I might need a little bit longer than a couple of days to work out what the heck I'm getting rid of.